Welcome to the Wedding Pros Podcast. Super excited about our guest today. We have Henry Martens from the Brothers Martens. We have a really awesome discussion about editing, storytelling. We get into sound design. We talk about teasers a little bit. Just a bunch of stuff that, especially if you're into filmmaking, that I think would really help you and challenge you. And if you're not into filmmaking, you're a photographer or a wedding planner, just hearing from people who are amazing at what they do, and trust me, Henry is amazing at what he does. He's at the top of the industry. I think will challenge your business, and it will help you think about what does it mean to be a storyteller in this industry, and how can I refine my craft. I view florists, caterers, wedding planners, designers, photographers, we're all telling a story and thinking very keenly and with a lot of intentionality about the type of story you're telling and how you're crafting it and what are your elements you're working with. We get into even like ambient sound at locations. Like, who thinks about that stuff? I mean, a lot of people, hopefully, but maybe if you're just new, maybe you never have. And so I think the way he thinks, I think will challenge anybody, not just wedding filmmakers. So definitely check it out. Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell, and check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit that alert bell. Guys, enjoy it.
Okay, sweet.
All right, let's do it.
Countdown. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here we are. We have Henry Martens on the Wedding Pros Podcast. Henry, thank you so much for being on the show today, this morning, tonight.
Whenever you're listening, wherever it is.
Yeah.
So Henry's in Bali right now, and we're back in Boston. And so it's like, what time is it there, Henry?
Like 9:30 a.m.
Yeah, and it's about 8:30 here. So
Yep.
many hours away. But thank you so much for taking time out of your vacation to be here. It means a lot to us, and we're gonna have some fun.
Happy to.
Definitely. Henry, how do you feel
Thanks for having me on.
How do you feel about credit card processing fees?
Let's we'll move over that topic. There's got to be a way around it.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
There is no way around it.
One of these, here's the thing. There needs to be a lobbyist company, because here's the thing. I'm cool with paying someone a fee to process it, but it shouldn't be a percentage, because it's all digital. It's digital, so it doesn't cost a bank more money to move 60,000 versus 600. So there should be flat rate fees.
It's brutal, man.
But good luck lobbying it.
We were just talking about it because we were like, we've always done it just because it's a convenience. We do a ton of weddings, and it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it. But kind of getting into that luxury market, I'm like, what, do we want to do it? Like, so that's just like.
If I was doing 10 weddings, I was like, we have to, because those people would be so pissed. They won't get their Amex points.
Yeah.
But I get it. I'm glad to provide the convenience, but it's funny because we pay, not only do we, and by the way, Honeybook, we love you. We love to have you on our podcast.
Sponsor the podcast. Yeah.
But we pay them the credit card processing and a fee to Honeybook.
Yeah, percentage. It's Honeybook.
Why do you pay a fee to Honeybook?
Because they have a subscription fee. So there's like a usage fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's just all kinds of fees and all kinds of whatever.
Yeah, and still I'm like, I don't want to go.
Cost of doing business.
Yeah.
This is a riveting conversation, by the way.
Yeah.
This is why people tune in.
Great start to the podcast.
Henry posted to Facebook today, and I was like, yes, someone's speaking truth. So.
Yeah.
I was just so frustrated, because I was excited to book that job anyways, and then I was just like, wait, I just lost like $500 on it. Was like $430. I was just like, what?
I know.
Like, it's all like, everyone has a level, right? Like, I would lose like $100. I'm like, okay, $100. But when you see like one transaction, you're like $430. You're like,
I mean,
shit. Anyway, so yeah.
I think we ended up paying $9,000 last year.
I think it was more.
It's painful.
Mm-hmm. Dude.
Anyway. It's a good sign because you're doing well.
We can move on. We can edit this part out.
Moving on. Credit card processing fee. We'll trim that down in the post. It's part of doing business.
Yeah.
So you work with your brother. You guys have a company. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
Totally, yeah. So my brother is a photographer. I'm a filmmaker in the wedding industry, and so we previously had companies, individually, where he offered photo and I offered video, and then he's been doing it longer than me. So once I got good enough, basically, we partnered up. We always love the idea of working together. We love collaborating together and giving a client a very seamless experience. And so we're a photo and video team. And we're based out of Dallas, Texas. I would say we do 50% travel, 50% local in our Texas market. So it's travel for us is just anywhere outside of Texas. We do a couple international a year and then a lot of other states.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, your brother's an awesome photographer too. Definitely check out your work if you're listening.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't even know your brother did photography. I always knew Henry Weddings, and when 4 years ago people were like, "Oh, you gotta check out Henry's Weddings, man." And then I was like, "Oh, his brother does photography." And he's
That's why they're called the Brothers Martin.
That's it. So
So it's good.
You know what? When I was doing research for this podcast, I was trying to find a headshot of you, and I just entered in Henry Martins. There's a lot of Henry Martins. A couple car dealers.
There's like a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Is there?
I almost made a post on Instagram that was like, which Henry Martins will be on our podcast this week? Guess. So what?
You still do it.
Here, what is a teaser anyway? I'm just kidding.
Okay, yeah. So I think that our work is kind of like, and I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing yet, but I feel like we're really getting known or standing out a little bit because of the teasers that we've been putting out. Which it's a good thing, but if you're a photographer, I feel like you want to say something.
Yeah, if you're a photographer, I'm kind of kidding because I know I've heard Henry interviewed like a couple times in the last few months. I saw him speak, and like every time he talks, they're asking him about his teasers. I tease him, so I tease you about teasers, but if you don't know, if you're a photographer and you're like, what are they talking about? Basically, we're talking like 1 to 2 minute little social media friendly films that are being released to kind of push your brand that are a little different than maybe the longer films that are being delivered to the clients. They're promotional films, basically, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it is your marketing, right? So like a teaser from a film perspective is it's literally like what you do to get people sucked in to go and like look at your portfolio. Because when people are shopping, they're not going to want to. I mean, when people are really shopping and trying to make a decision, they'll sit there and watch 50 different videos, right? But what's cool about teasers is they're usually for social media, like you said, and I kind of classified it in my presentation at Vision Quest that it's two kinds of teasers. There's like a recap teaser, which is just kind of like pretty and not even pretty. It's just kind of like very true of like the events that happened in the wedding. But then there's these things that I like to call, and I think I can coin it. It's called hype teasers, and it's just like in your face, like right off the bat. Like if you're scrolling through Instagram and like you hear it or see something, it's gonna suck you in and maybe get you looking at it, and then from there, maybe somebody. One thing that I love tracking on Instagram is how many shares happen when you post a teaser. When we post teasers, we're getting 30 to 40 shares. Which means people are sending it to people that are engaged, and then next thing you know, within a month, we start seeing large inquiries in our email. So teasers are really, really powerful, just getting people in, getting them to look at your actual work, and then falling in love with your brand.
The thing about, if you're a wedding photographer, because it's got like a Pinterest ability to it, because there's like you can go like, oh, details like, oh, this is a dress I want, and that photographer, you're getting marketing because of that, right? Yeah. We don't really have that as filmmakers as effectively, and so we have to overcome the fact that I don't want to watch a film about someone I don't know. That's boring to people. Like, it feels weirdly invasive. It's not that interesting to people. They want to see pictures of dresses, but they don't want to watch somebody's uncle talking. They don't care about that unless it's got some sizzle or some glamour or something attractive. Yeah. And so, like, you have to find a way to say in your marketing, you almost have to personify it a little, because the people watching it, they want to imagine themselves there. They want to imagine themselves in one of your films. They don't want to know that person who is getting married. And like pictures, it's easy to do that with. You just show the dress, they like the dress. They see the flowers, they like the flowers. Like, they want to imagine themselves in that dress and that flowers. Teasers are really great. I'm kidding a little that, we were teasing him about it, but at the same time, if you haven't tried it and you don't understand, well, why does it matter? Well, you're trying to do something that has a little more of a grabability. So,
and I think as a creative too, it's kind of it's a way to be a little bit selfish and greedy with like creativity. Like
Yes.
you can get away with things in a teaser that you probably couldn't
Very
get
much
away
so.
with. Yeah, in like a full length film. Somebody, might be like, oh, that's too like edgy for us. If it was the whole film, like, that's the thing they're gonna show to their
So-
mom. The teaser is
Yeah.
really for like their cool
And
friends,
something really, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing about it, and it might cause a little bit of identity crisis with your brand, but you will see people, because of first-hand experience, that like teasers and want their whole film to be like that. So you might end up attracting a new type of client
Totally.
with teasers, which is really cool.
You get more opportunities to expand yourself creatively instead of just
And they're a lot of fun because like there's so much less pressure. So like it takes all like you're just kind of like when you're doing with like a hype teaser, you're just trying to make something as cool as you want. You can use weird music that's either like very outside of the norm if you want to. You can try different like trendy things. Like to this day I'm still trying to figure out the zoom transition. I've never been able to use it, but when Sculpting with Time uses it, it looks all the zoom like when it goes between two
Like a
shots.
dolly
it looks
zoom?
really
Like
natural. When I try it.
the Alex
No.
Douglas shot.
The traveler zoom that's like a transition like between two shots.
Oh yeah.
Like all the travel vlogs. Yeah. I still haven't been able to make it work, but on every teaser, I still try to figure out how to do it, and it still doesn't feel right to me, so I keep skipping out of it. But there's other things you can try that are really cool. Teasers are great. I just love them, and I think some of our like we generate a lot of inquiries from teasers.
So you kind of brought in something, which I always say this to Jared about your work. There's some people's work that you're like, there are things that it just looks the same every time they release it, and not in a bad way. It's just, you see it and you're like, oh, that's 31 films. It looks a certain way, and there's all kinds of, even some of the things they do from an editing standpoint, a lot of people, what it is. Like, your stuff, you're always trying something new. There's always that sense of play and exploration, and it like, because I remember when the first year maybe not the first year, towards the beginning of your career, Jared was like, oh, I love this film. It's got this interview with these daughters. I think it was a couple getting married, and they had kids, and so you interviewed the kids, and they were talking about
kid solo, right?
One kid, yeah, maybe. And they were talking. It was like the narration for the film, and I was like, "Oh, that's so beautiful." And I was like, "Oh, this is what his work is like." Okay, then I see the Aruba film, and I was like, "No, this isn't like no." And then I saw your other films, and I'm like, "Oh, no, that's not that you're." So like, then I figured it out, and I'm like, it's all about exploring what he's doing. He's always trying to challenge himself, and so for you, like. Is there anything that's off limits into how you make these films, or is it always a challenge and you're always trying to push yourself?
Always try and push myself for sure. But that's also something that like we sell in like our communication with our clients is that we don't make the same films. It's also something that and here's the actual, because I just spoke at Wedding Film Retreat, which was so awesome being there. I mean, what Sarah and Rick have put together, dude. Like, I'm going back next year as an attendee because it's such a unique experience. It was phenomenal. But the big thing I talked about was actually like my work, right? And then how it doesn't really come from a selfish place. It really comes from what Matt Johnson calls like relational filmmaking. All the different like elements that you see in the different films that we showcase are really because of the couples that we're filming. It's either their style or their personalities or their location. We try to find those unique elements and like a creative way that fits them to showcase their work. So that's what you're seeing that's different in like the films that we do is like some couples like let's Antigua, right? They feel like it almost felt like Nigerian royalty. It felt very like cinematic and like and it's it's just very unique, right? And then you have Joshua Tree, like super hipster couple, and that's the one with the daughter. And so just trying to find ways to tell their story. And I got to meet with them, for instance. And when I met them, Natalie is a daughter that Jillian had before she met Tom. And so what was cool about meeting them for coffee is sometimes, step parents are a little weird when the parents get remarried, but I could tell that Natalie and Tom had an amazing connection and that Natalie was a huge part of Jillian and Tom's relationship. And so by getting to meet her, I also saw that she was really comfortable on camera because her mom's a photographer. So that's where that idea came from, is like getting to know the couple and then realizing, okay, this is an awkward, relationship. Like the daughter and the new stepdad are really close. And then they're also a big part of the relationship. So that's how that kind of came to be. So I think that when you look at our work and you see the different elements, again, it's just not really anything that like I'm doing, but just trying to pay attention to what our couple's giving me to work with.
Sure. It seems like you're kind of at this stage in your career where you're going up that ladder of like, from the high end market to really like the luxury market, right? Like, how has your interaction with the client changed over that time? Do you try to keep it pretty much the same, like, hey, let's get coffee kind of thing? Have you seen that relationship change over time?
Yeah, so we put a lot of effort into this, and it's going to be interesting because I think to a lot of people, the luxury market is like the one-all, be-all, like that's your goal, right? Yep. But I think even in the luxury market, I don't know if it's the right term of luxury market, because luxury market, I think typically is like those, 1, 2 million, 3 million plus weddings that are really kind of ballroom, or maybe they're outside, but just extremely eccentric florals. I think that's what people think of when they think luxury market. They think Ray Roman,
Yep.
Alex Douglas and Whitney Douglas, they've tapped into that market. But the thing for us really in the last year identifying, I don't think we want to get into that luxury market.
Sure.
And so it's a really interesting thing because of the client relationship. The client relationship at that level is very different. And a big part of what we do is not just taking people out to coffee, but to take them out to dinner and drinks, really no matter where they live. So we have a very unique ideal client. It's obviously people that have wealth and that are going to spend a lot of money, but people that are still very down to earth and accessible.
Well, we were saying it yesterday, but and I think you just hit on it again, but even when we were talking to the Hans, like, ideal client is kind of, I think, actually a misnomer because it's really ideal process, right? And then there's a client who fits into that process because you know what you need to make, right? And I think like some clients won't let you make it and you can't work with them. And it's like, if your process is like, I just show up, I don't care. I just show up, I make the film, I don't need to speak to you, I'm going to make this, like, great, you can hit a
great film, no matter what, right?
Yeah, and it's like, it just depends. And what I love about what you just said is it was all about self-awareness. It was like, this is what I need to do to make the film that I'm proud of and happy with, that's going to just release me to do what I need to do. And a lot more creatives would be they would do better focusing more on themselves and what they need to make than even on the client. And then, of course, that feeds into the client. You start to decide, like, oh, we had a client today. We were like, we can't work with this person. It won't work. They're not going to be happy. Yeah. And that's, even we say it all the time, is like, I want the client that I can make happy. And you're not going to be happy with what I'm going to do. And so it's awesome because the more we talk to people, the more I'm like, they're so aware of what they need to know to make the film. And like, if you want to apply what Henry's doing in your business, you need to apply that kind of self-awareness. And obviously you got to put in the hours to know, but like, you need to go like,
yeah, for sure.
Like, hey, this is what I want to make.
Yeah. I've been interested,
you got to analyze like your experiences.
Yep.
Totally. As we kind of dip our toes, because like I feel a little bit like we're just starting to get into that luxury market. We've shot a couple weddings and meeting you and talking to Alex and talking to people in the industry. It's exciting to see the different types of people in that market because, like you said, exactly what you said. Like, you think of the luxury market as being like people that are just like smoking cigars and like
top hats
chumming it up with top hats on or something. Like, oh,
how awesome would that be to shoot a wedding, by the way, where everyone wore monocles?
Phenomenal.
I would love that.
Pretty great.
But you think of it that way, but the diversity up there, and just diversity in personality. Certain people want a very like opulent wedding that's just like showing off. Some people that have a lot of money want it to be much more intimate. And what does that look like?
Yeah,
and so,
that's a good way of putting it.
It's almost like there's different filmmakers in that luxury market that can really diversify and do something different. Like what you're putting together is way different than what Alex is putting together, but there's space up there, you know? And I don't know. It's awesome to see. I think we talked about it yesterday with the Hans. Like, you know, the photography community has kind of figured out that like ultra luxury market, and I feel like Ray has been doing it literally forever, but everyone else is like, okay, you know, we're starting to see other people kind of get up there, and
well, it's like there was literally hardly any supply before.
yeah.
Now there's a lot of people who can supply this to that. I mean, it's going to be an interesting 10 years for our industry, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I would say the demand is even going up, right? Because of social media. I think the demand before and people's expectations, you know, that's one thing that I was so proud of Sculpting with Time is that they made it on Harper's list of top filmmakers. Yeah. Because for the longest time, the luxury market has been classified, right, as like this bright, pretty, and that's great because there's nothing wrong with that, right? Very bright, very pretty, very filmic looking. You look at the other filmmakers on the list, right, and it's very much that.
Yes.
And what I absolutely loved about Sculpting with Time making the list is that they, Alex said, they always thought that their style was luxury and that it fit into that realm. And so what's cool though is I think by them being on the list and by people that look at the list, planners, other photographers, brides that look at that list, all of a sudden now they're going to see something different. And what's so great, like that they made it, it's going to be great for the rest of us filmmakers. Now people are going to say, oh, this is also luxury. And the trickle down effect will, in like 10 years, right? The trickle down the next 10 years for the industry is going to be very interesting. And I think, no one's really talked about it, but I honestly think them being on that list is going to make a big difference in the luxury market of like what is considered luxury. It doesn't have, from the looks perspective, you know?
Well, and I don't honestly hardly know anyone on that list. Like I know a few of the guys, but I've never even heard of most of those guys, and I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah, and that's the way they want to keep it.
Yes, but like they're part of our crew. Like Sculpting with Time is part of the team. Like they're just, as much as I think they're luxury, they're part. Not to say these other people are outside of the community, and I don't have no issue with them.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it's like, it is working its way down in terms of like, it's gonna get stirred up. Because first of all, Alex and Whitney, they're not gonna hog it. Like they're all about.
I mean, what they do is they're like light years ahead. The thing about them is like they're like. I feel like you just remove them. They're like unicorn, and then the rest of us will try to illustrate it.
I always tell
their
people
own thing.
I always tell people, and I'm like, I could never even operate a camera that well. I don't even. I could never ever make the film he made, like in my whole life.
Yeah.
I couldn't even like think about it, like the thinking on his feet to get some of the shots. It's like he's editing while he's shooting.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about a person who's not on the podcast.
Whole different process.
So I want to get into.
We're all big fangirls. We get it. Yeah.
I and honestly, the nicest people in the world. Let's just be real. They're so nice.
Oh yeah.
So
humble too.
Before you were a filmmaker, like you were a musician, right? Or maybe at the same time, but you have a musical background. I'm kind of a musician, and one of the things I noted, like people who love music are the best editors. That's my opinion.
I think so, yeah.
Like, and that doesn't mean that the musicians, like you don't have to be a musician, but you got to love music, right? Because you got to have a sense of rhythm, especially wedding films. Wedding films are so rhythmic. It's not just look at the little peaks and line up your cuts to the peaks.
Yeah.
There's like
counter rhythms.
There's a slap and there's sliding. It's like there's so many things that you have to like make a person feel. How does that affect your editing? Do you feel like it's like a big part of what you do?
Yeah, I think it makes a big difference in what I do. The biggest thing that I'd say in the musical elements that we choose, like sets our work apart, is that it's like music is subjective, but to an extent, there is like a level, right, of like a good song versus a not good song, or like a song that like wouldn't be played on the radio. Does that make sense? Like, and I can say that because I was a musician, so like, and I wasn't very successful at it because there is like a definitive, like this is a good production and this is not. So the big thing for me is like when making music choices, if it doesn't like check off my boxes, like does it sound good? Is it mixed good? Is this like an actual like catchy melody. Like those are things that I look for when trying to find a feeling of a song, like when I'm going through Musicbed, because that's pretty much the only service I use. And then obviously I was a drummer too, and so that plays a huge role in the editing. It's just like feeling the beats and like I said, the counter rhythms. But I think I don't know. And there's also like let me just say this. I think when choosing music, it's really important to know like what you don't want as much as understanding what you do want. And what I mean by that is like I pretty much have a rule: if it's acoustic guitar and 4 on the floor, I'm never going to use it, right? Because it's not my thing, right?
If you shot a lot of New Hampshire weddings like we do, you might have to.
No, well, dude, no, I'll disagree with you. Like Dallas was that way and still is that way. But when I started in Dallas, and I'm friends with like the 3 guys that were running it, like you can be different and you'll be accepted. I promise. You guys do it. Just don't choose the acoustic guitar music. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Music selection it is hard to kind of describe because it comes naturally to me. Because of my musical background.
Isn't that weird about it? I talk about this. There's this interview I saw. And I think it's Musicians Explain Music at 5 Levels of Complexity is what it's called or something. And it's his piano player, and he teaches a child about music. And he's like, here's chords. And then he teaches it.
Okay.
And then he finally gets to, and I think he's talking to like Herbie Hancock about piano at the very end. Him and Herbie Hancock are talking about piano. And the more skilled you get at something, the less like actual terms that you use that are objective. You use more subjective terms. So like when you're starting at the bottom, you're like, he's like, this is kind of like a chord like slaps in, and it's like, and they're talking about how they feel about the song, and they're talking about grooves, and they're talking. Yeah. It's just like when I'm describing a tone, I'm like, it's kind of squishy. It's kind of a squishy tone, kind of woolly.
Yeah.
And like that doesn't make any sense. But if you're a musician and you know about fuzz pedals, you know exactly what I mean. And I think that is exactly what we were talking about when we're really getting into the highest levels of being like really just an editor in general, but especially when you're working with music, is like it is way more about feel than it is about like rules. And the rules will get you going. Like if I was to teach a person editing, because I teach high school kids editing, and I'll just say like, just go with the beat. That's a decent film. Yeah. You can, and like you'll see that guys who are new, they're just cutting to the beat. That's not bad. As you get bigger and you start learning things, you start to take more risks. And what I love about your music choice things is like you're really using the music choice as part of your creativity. You're not just trying to go what will the client like? Even though I think that's fine. If that's your business model, ask a person what they like. You know, we're editing 120 wedding films a year, Henry. I'm not going to. Crazy. We're going to ask them what they like, and we're going to edit a film to what they like, because I don't have time to do revisions. But when we're doing our higher end films, totally different experience. Yeah. And so, I think I always tell our guys, because we just had we have a guy that works for us. He's 20 now, and he's just now. I was just like, hey, do this trailer for a film, do like a little teaser, and just go wild with it. I'm not going to put any parameters on you, you know. Do transitions, do highlights, make it like you would make one of your skateboard videos. Really feel it out, feel the song, and you know, he did just an incredible job, and he keeps on like progressing and using his creativity and editing the music. But editing in the music, I don't think at first it came naturally to him. And at first I was like, dude, you just have to listen to better music in general. Like listen to some new stuff that's not just like. And honestly, it helps. Like, have you ever seen Euro Dreams of Sushi? Yeah. The documentary? Yeah. Well, it's so amazing. It's about this 90-year-old. I'm going to watch it now. Yeah, it's amazing. He's a chef. It's one of the first DSLR films I remember too. But he's a he runs a 3 Michelin star restaurant in Tokyo in a Subway. So it's the only sushi restaurant in the world that's 3 Michelin stars. And he's run it forever. He's like 85 or something. But in his movie, he said something that literally changed my life. I think about it all the time. He's talking about making food. And he says, in order to make good food, you have to eat good food. And I'm like, like Like if you want to make,
It's so simple, but it makes sense.
if you want to make good films, you have to watch good films. If you want to make good films, you have to listen to good music. And so it's like, it's all about refining your palate. You have to have a lot of experiences with this stuff. And so if you're like a person like, I don't like music, you won't, it's going to limit your editing. You're never going to be as great as you could be.
Totally. I think.
So.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
His opinion was really stupid.
When I was in film school, like the director of the school would always be like, there's an industry saying like, can he edit to music? Because if he can't, he can be on this other documentary that doesn't really have to do with any kind of music. Like he just does that. But there was the people that could edit to music and people that can't edit to music. And I think as the industry changes, everyone kind of has to edit to music. It's like you can't really, especially with wedding films, I don't see people really.
I mean, it's like, it's a very commercial.
So you have
style.
to learn. If it's not something you're good at, you have to learn how to edit.
You
have to.
Totally. So.
You go.
Oh, I was gonna say, like I did a film critique, and for a friend of mine, he's not a musician, and like there's like little things that you can cheat, right?
Yeah.
That you can like always do, or at least not always do, or at least like try to do. Like we get a lot of compliments from couples, not from filmmakers, about how our films flow with music. I pretty much always cut to the beat. Generally, but it's not always the like 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes they may be on the the upbeats or whatever, but or some like drum fills. But like the thing is, like one of the easiest ways to really give your film an impact is to have like whatever the climax of going to the chorus, like put like either like a big moment, like a first kiss, or even you can do first kisses like before and then them exiting like the church, something that's on like a big moment. It really gives like this huge feeling of like, oh, this is like a climax, right? So there's like little things like that I'll do film critiques, and people have their first kisses like in the middle of the verse, and then like the climax of the song is like when they're like, I don't know, doing portraits, and you're like, oh, if you just like shifted this around a little bit, it gives like so much more of a feeling.
Our films, to be a good wedding filmmaker, you have to like basically deal with the fact that your story doesn't have normal story structure. You don't have tension, so you have to simulate tension through how you utilize music and sound, and then like Alex does it amazing. He has almost like horror elements in his film, like visual dissonance all the time that you're like, that's creepy to me, that's weird to me, but it's simulating this feeling of like, oh, you're watching a story, and of course there's good storytelling, and like if you understand sound design, you can create a feeling of like, it's just so much more. The storytelling of good sound cannot go understated enough. Literally, I was doing an edit today and I did a thing and I was like, this is weird. And I'm like, I just put a riser in.
Yeah.
Felt good. That was it. Like, so the other thing I'll say, if you're editing, go get some good sound packs and mess around with it. Like, obviously be careful.
I'll say one of the good sound packs to grab is Film Crux. It's like $30. I love the lens distortion stuff, but it's hundreds of dollars. Film Crux or Crew or whatever you want to say, that's the one you want to buy.
Is that Singularity?
Film Crux, they were the people that were selling to me on Instagram. It's like a lot of, at first I was like, why do these people keep on trying to sell me like spaceship noises?
The Singularity
and
one,
then
right?
I dove into it. I was like, oh, this is actually really good stuff.
I love the Singularity pack. It's really good.
Yeah.
And it has like, it's got sounds that don't stick out so much that like everyone's going to be like, oh, you use that pack. Because I don't want that.
Yeah.
But it's great. And it's like,
also $30.
It's $30.
Yeah. Good sound. You can't really tell what's in the background unless you isolated it.
That's
right?
the thing is like, as you're doing sound design, like I remember you did that sound design breakdown at, what film was it where you had the cheering?
Oh, it was like a teaser like from Tulsa.
I would have never noticed the cheering coherently. Like it didn't stick out. And then once you isolated it, I couldn't not hear it.
Yeah.
But it had this feeling of like, like just the feeling of like people were like, I don't know. It was weird that I put it in there, but like when I did it, I was like, oh, that's what I was missing. Like it makes me feel like I'm like getting real excited for this church wedding. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the thing I like about your films, Henry, is I feel like you're on a pace right now where if I close my eyes and I just listen to the film, that I would be like, I would imagine what the shots would be, and then you open your eyes and it's exactly what you thought.
Oh, wow.
It's like I think
Well, thank
that's
you.
fun. That's fun when you can get to that level of sound design and you can have that kind of like artistry and just cohesiveness to the film. I think that's a lot of fun. That's a
Thank
fun
you.
spot to be in. Yeah, we've been working on a film.
Well,
And
yeah, I appreciate it.
I wanted to ask you too. When you're kind of creating this world, right? Are you? How do you decide kind of like is it when you're talking to the clients, are you deciding, hey, this is going to feel this way, this is going to be a 15-minute edit compared to a 10-minute edit? What kind of elements are you putting together when you're meeting with the client, when you're trying to decide, what kind of creative
For sure,
vision
for sure.
you're putting together?
Film links are definitely based on money, right? How much what they buy in a package. So that's like the easiest way to decide film links. When it comes to because our films are literally so unique, I had to be very it's not because my big thing is that I don't promise. I tell them this before they book, like when they're booking. I want to hear what you like about our work, but I'm not going to promise anything, and I don't replicate our other films. I always tell them that, and they love that because we talk about how it's going to be custom, and they feel that. They say I feel like I know this person, I don't even know them, and it feels different than your other films. So our whole approach is very custom. But the thing that I always have to ask is like, hey, which of our films do you like? And I actually will ask now which of our films or elements from films of ours do you not like? Just so I can know, because
you don't want to give somebody something they're going to hate.
When you have one film that's like cinematic and you have one film that's like a rager party the whole time, like I gotta know like if I can lean into these creative elements. And so so just that's about it, right? And then the rest of it is just getting to know them and being really aware of the wedding day. Something I found a long time ago, like in 2016, is like the location of the sounds of a location are for some reason they stir a lot of senses for people that have been there. So like what I found is every city I go to really sounds different, city or location, right? So like in Bali has a very unique sound, and so I always make a conscious effort to record actual sound in the locations. But then I will pair it with extra library stuff. But I think it's really hard to create this feeling, right, if you're just using library tracks. Because people like I don't know, like when you're listening to it, your subconscious goes back to like a sound that you heard when you were traveling to a location. So just making sure that you're conscious to record audio just on your camera or whatever. And then the other thing that I always tell people with sound design is it is a muscle. Like, don't get discouraged if like the first 10, 15 films you're doing, it's not quite where you want it to be. Like it's just, you got to keep practicing and you got to be really critical with yourself. Don't just be like don't just like accept it or whatever. So like the biggest thing that I hate in wedding films, and I see it's like the same sound almost. It's these birds chirping, and I can tell it's just fucking fake. I'm sorry, no cursing. It's just fake, and like I'm just like, okay, there's no point in this like sound design. So with that being said, I hope that those times that I hear that people are just like working out that muscle, and like they'll realize, oh, this sucks, let me like not do that again. But like be real with yourself if it's like not good, and then like learn from your mistakes and keep growing.
Even just looking for extended sections where no one's talking in a clip, where you can use it to create if you were doing production, we'd say, oh, and I got to get some room sound, right? Because you don't want if you have a noise gate on or something weird like that, you need to fill that spot in. The same thing happens in our films. We're cutting in and out between talking, just putting some room sound under there. That's sound design, right?
Yep,
and it's like,
exactly. Going to the bridal suite and just like dropping a recorder in there and then telling them, hey, I'm going to turn off the music for like a minute, right? And then turn it back on or whatever afterwards. Even things like that will make a difference because people will hear their laughs or hear their friends' laughs, and it instantly sucks them back into the day. Sound, as we all know, is like very much overlooked in people's wedding films because it's like another area to master, and there's so many areas that you have to master as a wedding film maker. But it's obviously something that people will really notice. It was 2017 was the year I decided to really put a big effort into getting better and including more sound design. And that's the year you can see like a big jump in our film quality as well as our booking rates.
It's a three-dimensional thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I watch some of our films now, and I'm like, oh, you have to drop some audio in there. It just sounds so flat. Like so with the music, and
it's
the video, it's just like. Yeah, you got to add that in, and it
one
just
of the
makes
easiest
it feel like
things
you're there.
is just adding. If there's any outside elements, just add like a bass wind track.
Yep.
Underneath the music, literally like if you're showing any outside shots, like on most of mine in Final Cut, it's wind 4, just across the whole thing, just because it sounds so music video sucked dry, like studio recording. If you just have music, so. You start with the wind, guys, and then try to integrate some more stuff from, but
I mean,
just
at the end of the day,
start little and build up.
Sure.
Sound design is actually something that is untapped in our market, and although it's a trendy term and people talk about it all the time right now, like, oh, I'm working on sound design, and then they mean like including more quotes, which is fine, but I do think in a reality, it is something that there is opportunity to make your mark and to be unique with how you use sound, more so than like how you use a gimbal. There's only so many shots you can get, right? And it's like, but editing is the secret that we get as filmmakers. And if you're not a filmmaker, if you're a photographer listening to this, like, I think the goal with editing photos is to spend as little time as possible editing your photos. Basically, and you can probably a lot of times get an amazing result getting your process down and then outsourcing it, and it's fine. And if you do that, awesome. Some filmmakers can do that, but I think
I'm jealous.
Your actual voice is your editing, just as much as how you shoot. And so like it's a little trickier to like if anyone but Alex edited Sculpting with Time, it wouldn't be Sculpting with Time.
Totally.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about your work, Henry, is like if anyone else but you was the primary editor, it wouldn't be a Brothers Martens film.
I've tried.
Have you really?
Out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. So let's talk gear really quick because I like gear and you love gear.
Yeah.
And we're always
I love gear.
Going back and forth with rigging these black magics, which I'm going to make a video on this week of just here's all the parts you need to buy, because I never have seen anyone who shows how to rig those things.
Right.
Because it's actually really, really hard.
There's lots of returns in Amazons.
Oh, my goodness. I returned so many parts. I will help you.
Oh, shit, I don't need this.
Yeah, or I just have this pile of like rigging. So let's talk about like, how are you making your gear choices these days? What are you loving? Like,
Man, I really do approach every wedding like pretty unique, even from a gear perspective. Depending on style, like if I'm gonna be filming handheld, or if I'm gonna be filming gimbal, or if I'm gonna be filming like documentary style. So like a lot of that stuff, like my rig almost changes, at least in some capacity, every wedding we do. But with that being said, the things that I'm really into right now, I'm getting to experimenting. I've always been a big Zeiss Milvis user. I honestly just love the image quality I get out of those on any camera. But one of the
using that
things
24
that I'm
mil
doing now, which is like, no, I got the 20. Yeah, I do have the 24. Yeah, 24, 35, 50, 85. Yeah. I want to get the 18 though, because I'm gonna start shooting my destination weddings.
We have the
6K
Canon Cine 14 mil.
Oh yeah.
So good. That wide lens.
Pretty sweet.
On those black magics with that little crop. Expensive. Well, no, but I'm just saying a really crazy wide lens. Looks so cinematic.
Yeah, okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. So with that being said, I've been really locked into like image quality and everything, but right now I'm experimenting with some vintage lenses and some convenience of zoom lenses that have IS. And I've done the test and I can clearly see the difference in image quality. Like I have a 17-55 Canon, and I mean, while I don't love the way it looks, I love that it has IS and that it's very functional for like some of these run and gun weddings I'm shooting. But then I also bought off of Amazon like this $160 50 millimeter. It's like a Sumo cap. It's like some crazy vintage lens, and it's like so warm. It's like the glass is almost like orange a little bit, but the flare is like ridiculous. So, but it's so soft. But I'm experimenting with it actually on vacation now, just to kind of shoot some footage to see what it's like if I want to pull it out when I am doing stuff. But gear-wise, Blackmagic. Small HD, those are like the two consistent things that I always shoot with. And then the lens choices is just all over the place.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, what do you want to talk about gear? I mean, I'm just like.
No, that's it. That's it. I mean, people just like the list, man.
Yeah.
Because here's what's funny. This is why I want to talk about it. How do you feel about the fact that everything you just said, someone is going to just go try to do and make your exact film?
Gear doesn't make a difference, man. You know, like, like, dude, in a perfect world, I'd keep shooting on Sony's, right? If they ever released a 10-bit, like, 422 4K 60 file, I'd just be back on Sony. Be like, amazing. But they didn't. And then I switched to Blackmagic, and I'm, like, in love with the image. And so it's my favorite. It's, like, so good.
It's just
like,
funny.
Here's the thing. I've been to Bali 4 times. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's funny to me because no matter how much, we all know this, and every one of us would go on a Facebook group and say, gear doesn't matter, right? We all love gear, which, by the way, if you love gear, awesome. I am not. I love gear.
I love gear.
Love gear. I would just buy gear just because I love it. It just makes me personally happy, just to play with that stuff. But it's funny, like if you, no matter how much you would tell someone, like there's a good side of copying people, because it's where we all start, right? You know you're gonna pick up a Ramones song
imitation
and learn a Ramones song, right? That's how you learn to play guitar, you know. But like. And so I think it's awesome that like that people are like, have people like you now. Because when I was starting as a wedding filmmaker, I didn't know who to imitate. We had nobody.
Well, I think we originally got into it because we saw the still motion guys.
That was it.
Like, that's what we want to do.
We made still motion rip-off films for like 5 years. Like, that's all we did is we would just
at like 1/10 the prices.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we had because they were using Canon 5D Mark IIs. We got Canon 5D Mark IIs. Like,
so we have 5 Mark IIs.
And so like that kind of copying really that changed our life. To have a person copy.
Yeah, okay.
And so it's like it's really fascinating that now guys have you. There's so many people you can copy now that
there's a million.
Like,
there's so many talented people. Yeah.
That will just like I don't like whatever like. Go copy someone. If you're getting started, copy someone. Just do the
100%. Here's what's going to happen, right? Here's what's going to happen. Two things. Either you're going to start copying someone, and you're never really going to like find your own voice, so you'll never really like exceed past that. Or you can imitate people, but if you really care about getting better, you'll eventually like realize like what it was that you liked about whoever you're copying or what thing you were copying, and it will naturally be paired with your strengths, and you will make it your own. For instance, I was a huge Velair film fan. Do you guys know Velair Films out of Colorado? No. Okay, well. Don't worry. He sold off his company. I don't like him anymore. They're great people, but when Tim was doing it, Tim was like the guy who started it. Phenomenal. I was like so inspired by his work. So of course I like stalked his Instagram. Like what light is he using? He had the most unique reception stuff just because it was like hard spotlight and stuff. So I like went out and imitated it. But eventually, like I can never do Tim as well as Tim can do Tim. And that's the saying, like only you can do you, right? So, but eventually I ended up just using, I got that light, and that piece of gear did make a difference on my local market of like how I was shooting reception films from like a lighting perspective. Because in my local market, everyone just had lights on things, and no one was doing handheld stuff. And so like I was able to like, it inspired me to end up doing like these club video kind of things, which are like super, that's not how Tim used them. Tim used them just as spotlights and slow-mo. But then whenever I use that light, I was like, oh, I can like do like these cool transitions when I move the light off their face and it goes to black and then shine on another person's face from another shot. And so it inspired me to make like these like really fast cuts instead of doing it how Tim was doing it. But I just love the way that Tim's looked. So that's why I bought the light originally. So
when you're being
if you're
creative,
just, like I said, if you're real with yourself,
when you're being creative, you need to actually spend more time editing things out of your process than adding things in. And one of the best things to do is copy something and suck at it, or copy something and hate it. Like I will forever try to copy Sharon's some of her like high key stuff because it's just the isolated like spot look that she does. It doesn't work if you're not in the right space. If you're not in the lighting environment.
I don't know how she makes it work at every space, but she's a unicorn.
Well, because she's
like every one of her films, she makes it work.
It's very New York City though. Like it's the way that those venues
Yeah,
are in
yeah,
New
yeah.
York and the way that they like to light them.
No white walls.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
way that they like to light them. It's the way it's this high, like all the venues, the ceilings are super high. There's just a
There's
thing.
just cigarette smoke burns
Yeah,
all on the wall.
there's just a thing, right? And it's like, if you're not, A, if you're not her, B, if you're not shooting the wedding, like, what you will find though is like, oh, you buy the light, you try to do it the way that you think she does it, and A, you might do it differently and love it, and B, you might do it differently and hate it. Who knows? But at the end of the day, you're gonna learn something.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you guys, like,
For
just
sure.
just copy Henry, everything he makes.
Well, I thought it was interesting, Henry, because when we were at Vision Quest, we went out on the boat. Everyone's hanging out, having a good time, and then the hangout time kind of was dwindling down, and then it became like the dance party, right? And who's in the middle of the dance floor? Henry dancing, going crazy, pulling his hat off, putting it on people. We're all having a good time.
Losing
and I'm
my
like,
voice.
yeah. And we're like, well, this feels like a Henry Martin's wedding
exactly.
film. It's just like who you are. So you got to start with copying, and then you slowly develop it into who you are. Like your films feel like you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this totally makes sense because this is who Henry is. This is like the first time.
Well,
I
even the
actually
relational
hang
part,
out.
like not just the way that you talk about your clients now. It's like, I want to listen. I want to understand. That's how you talk to everyone. When you meet people, that's who you are. And like, I've seen the more artists I meet, the more conversations I have, the more I learn about myself, the more I say, to make good art, you have to know yourself. And you have to make art that's true to you. And
That's good.
It doesn't
Is that
mean
your saying? Because you should coin that.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Well, I do think
That's really good. That's really good.
It's that journey, though, because I think the problem that a lot of young filmmakers make is they do take that advice where they're like, I got to be true to myself. And it's like, you don't know any. Like, what do you mean? There's no content.
learn about
You don't even know
Yeah.
yourself yet.
You don't know yourself yet. So it's
Yeah.
like copying, what you like about certain elements and then, slowly developing over time so you can find out what is real to yourself. Like too many guys, how many times I just see it on Facebook all the time. It's like some person will be like,
The client will ask for something and they'll
just
be like,
wanna-
I'm not going to make that for you. That's not authentic.
they'll be like, I want to create something that's truly different. And I'm like, how many wedding films has this person done? Like, and they've done like 5 wedding films. I'm like, oh, maybe you should work on,
Create something that's financially supporting you.
anything for a little bit, and then, make those choices. But
I will say, I love art, Henry. But I think at the end of the day, like, I don't know if this is some people, some of us aren't as talented as other people, and that's it. And you're never going to make
course.
as nice films.
I'm not as
other
talented as Alex and Whitney Douglas.
No, well, I mean, maybe you are. but like at the end of the day, though, like, you don't need to feel insecure about that because you can actually make an awesome living. And like, I always try to remind guys about that.
Well,
I'm like,
that ain't.
you're going to make a living. You don't need to make a Brothers Martens film to make an awesome living.
yeah,
On wedding films.
Yeah, the biggest. Yeah, so there's the income side of it too, but also from a creative side, dude. Like, if you're just imitating, like, it's always going to. I don't know. Like, I talked a lot, and like, I did a presentation at Wedding Film Retreat, and I had to like really. I had to like guide all the viewers in hours, and it was 2 hour and a half. It was an hour, so I had to like guide everyone through the process of like how I can't just like say this. Never mind. I can't say it because if I don't like guide you through like the process, it's gonna come across as like really like I'm like against people that do like traditional films or people that do non-traditional films. But I totally get what you're saying. The biggest thing though is like if you're not like if you're imitating and you don't ever like find your own voice, then like that's totally fine because you will just fit into the category of like making kind of normal wedding films and you'll make a really good income and like you don't have to be like a trendsetter, unique person or whatever. Like there's a client that wants what you do.
Yep.
There's a client for every style of wedding film and there's a client that wants, there's literally actually the majority of clients want to hire a wedding filmmaker that has very similar work consistently between all their films because they want to know what they're getting. And there's a smaller portion of the population that wants something completely custom tailored to them. But the majority of brides, they want to know what they're getting. That's why the luxury market that I'm trying to get into is so much smaller than maybe the luxury market that like Ray Roman or other people are getting into, where it's pretty consistent across the board.
But that's pretty Henry of you. You're a risk taker, and you're gonna do the thing that like makes you creatively satisfied, and that's why your films are good. Because if you did something else, it wouldn't be you. And I think that is what people. That's what people need to figure out. I guess is what I'm saying is like figure yourself out, and and base your company on that, and base your art on that, and like screw what anybody thinks about it.
Because there's nothing wrong. There's no right or wrong way to run your business or on what style of wedding film you're creating. So 100% agree with that. Like you got to find out, and it's honestly pretty, like there's not that many categories. Like, do you want to shoot the same style weddings like often? Or do you want to shoot like really different and unique style weddings between like your weekends? Well, and that's like a good place to start. Like I can't shoot the same wedding every weekend.
Henry, I have a question. What got you into watches?
What's up? I just love watches, man. I always have. I don't know why. Watches, like watches and shoes. I'm really into shoes right now too.
Yeah.
We always talk about our dream sponsor
I like being comfortable.
For the Wedding Pros podcast would be Wolf and Shepherd.
Who's that?
Wolf and Shepherd, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
I want to get them involved.
Wolf and Shepherd? Dude.
Because
I want to start shooting their market. Their marketing's pretty good.
It could be better if you did it.
Yeah.
So you should do that.
What's your next watch piece that you're gonna get? You eyeing any?
I'm not gonna buy one for a long time.
Yeah.
No, because I have like this one nice watch that I love, but like I'm at a point where it's like I bought this for myself. This is gonna sound like super, I don't know, douchey, but I really love Rolex. I don't love them for the name or whatever, but I love being part of the little club with my clients. They all have Rolexes, and I've always been a watch guy. And so I had a bunch of 15 different watches, all under like $500 before. But right before I got married, I was like, I'm gonna buy like one last big purchase for myself. And so I got a really amazing deal on this watch and bought it. And I love wearing it. It's like my thing, right? But now that I have it, I can't like go back. And so there's like other Rolexes I want, but they're so expensive that I'm not gonna buy one for a long time. So actually, if I just didn't buy new camera gear, I probably could afford one.
Yeah. So would you say just the number one tip to becoming successful in the luxury market is owning a Rolex?
Yeah. And don't buy a date just. You got to own at least a Submariner or above. That's
because so if you're trying like
unspoken rules.
I didn't really understand it until I watched.
So it became a snob.
Hodinkee, and I was like, this is it's silly. And then I was like, oh, see, I can latch onto that a little bit, like the whole like heritage of a watch and like passing it down. And so I'm like, I love that idea, like of my kids eventually wearing the watch that I bought. So I'm like, I'm saving up. I always tell him I'm deleting.
This is a collector's edition.
Yeah,
this is called a 666 Sea Dweller, and it was made in 1987.
Yes,
and it looks just as relevant today in 2020.
Dude, it's
crazy.
So we're having my wife's pregnant now, and so I'm like,
well, I have to buy a Rolex, honey.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, kind of the same thing, where I'm like, well, it probably will be the last purchase that I make for myself in the next 18 years. But, it will be something that I can down.
Dude, it's like parking cash. It's like parking cash. If you ever get in trouble or you need to pay for your kids' college tuition, you can just go sell your Rolex.
Did you see the guy, speaking of watches, this old guy with a big beard, right? And he was on one of those antique road shows, right? And he's like, hey,
oh yeah,
you saw that?
He had the most perfect Daytona.
Yeah,
it was like a mintless Daytona.
It was a new old stock, so it was like unopened. He bought it, put it in a safe in the box for $450. He paid for it or something like that, some tiny amount of money, and he got it after he got out of the military or something. It's like 45 years old or something. He goes to the guy, and the guy appraises it. He goes, "This might sell for $700,000." The guy passes out.
Dude, That's the crazy. I think it's classified as the best conditioned Rolex Daytona in the world.
Wow.
So that's why it's worth
No
so
kidding.
much money, because it's literally, it's never been open. It's like mint condition.
Well, it's funny,
It's
if you
like
watch it,
ridiculous.
the guy reviewing it is like, he's like smiling and like it's so awkward.
He can't even keep it in.
Yeah. Hey, so that was just a real detour we took there into watches, but man,
Yeah.
Henry, we so appreciate it. There's probably a
Yeah,
million
dude.
other things we could go into because, and we like, what's funny, I'm thinking back on what we talked about. It was so nerdy. And so if you're listening,
Did we actually cover anything?
we talked about editing and like, here's the thing though, is like, that's what I love. I know that's what you love, Henry. And like at the core of it is like, we're just on here to do what I want to do, which is,
Oh, perfect. Then we're good.
so if you were listening to this and you were bored, well, you know, I had a good time. So
No, I thought that was awesome, man. Henry, thank you so much for joining us, man. And good luck in Bali.
My pleasure,
Sounds like a
guys.
fun
yeah,
time.
dude, you're going to be at,
I'm in. Just chilling.
are you ever in the East Coast ever?
Dude, believe it or not, no. I have a lot of clients from there, but I'm like rarely in the East Coast.
Yeah. It's
Like, actually, no. I'm gonna be in Rhode Island in June. Nantucket.
Oh yeah,
No.
that's my neck of
Rhode
the woods.
Island?
Yeah.
Yep. I live in Rhode Island.
yeah.
I live in Providence.
I live
Okay.
15 minutes
yeah,
from
I'm
Rhode
gonna
Island.
be there.
Dude, hit us up, man. Hit us up. We'll take you to a
All right,
sightseeing
guys.
or something.
I'll see you in June.
All right.
June's gonna
do it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome, man.
Henry,
Have
thank
an
you, man.
Is that
awesome.
crushing your couch? I think lodging's really expensive.
Oh yeah, and it's
I mean,
getting up there.
He's a landowner, so
Yeah.
maybe he can grant you some.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
All right, have an awesome vacation, man. See ya.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Adios.